Not to put so much pressure, to enjoy first, because everything goes quite fast in this sport, and if you try to force it, you will break it.
You're listening to Joey's Taxi, conversations from the seat of awareness. No fixin', no forcing, just shared presence. Let's ride. Hello, and welcome to Joey's Taxi. Today in the passenger seat, we have Daniel Kukshaus. And Daniel Kukshaus is a psychologist, learning designer, and co-founder of Ocean Fused Training. He combines professional development with body-based learning methods, focusing on resilience, self-leadership, flow, and stress regulation. Hi, Daniel. How are you today?
Hi, Joy. I'm good. Thank you for inviting me.
My absolute pleasure. What I would love to talk about, we actually know each other from a couple of years now. I was visiting a cafe in Tenerife in the South in Las Americas, and that's how I got to meet Daniel as a surf instructor back then. It's been a real pleasure to just keep this contact going. When I found out that he was co-founding with his partner, a beautiful development program called Ocean Fused Training, I was like, oh, I want to learn more about this. And I feel like this is something that'd be very important to put out there and for other people to learn about. So before we jump into your origins and how Ocean Fused Training came about, I would love to talk about the photo that you submitted to us. I ask everybody to share a photo or a piece of artwork that just captures their attention or it has some significant meaning to them. So if you're listening and not watching, you can always switch over to video on Spotify or watch on YouTube. There will also be a link to look at this photo in the show notes. So Daniel, can you describe more about this photo that you submitted here?
To be honest, before to pick this photo, I had several in mind, and I decided to pick this one because it reminds me of a funny situation I had in Bali. So the stance you see here is like really spread arms and falling on the back foot, which is technically not really correct and brings you not in the best balance to start the wave. But that also gave me a nickname from a good friend of Bali. So every time I would do that, he would say, "The eagle has landed." And still, after years of surfing, when the waves are a little bit bigger and I'm under pressure, you're coming back in your old reflexes and regress a little bit in your style. And yeah, it reminds me that you have to keep going and always fixing small little things to get better.
What are those in those moments, or maybe something's coming up for you right now, what are those little things to correct to keep moving forward for you?
Not to put so much pressure, to enjoy first, because everything goes quite fast in this sport, and if you try to force it, you will break it. So what I try to do is start to be more relaxed. The more tensioned you are on taking a wave, the more you regress in old strategy and in old muscle memories. If you start to relax, observe, try to make the time slow down, if you can do that, but cognitively it feels like the time slows down when you're surfing consciously. Yes, and then out of this flow, something you can start to apply what you practiced before in the surf school.
Taking real world experiences from the surf school and applying this to the ocean and applying this to the surfboard and surfing sport in general. Thank you for sharing that. I would love to learn more about your origins, how it is that you landed here on Tenerife and co-founded this company.
Oh, yeah, of course. You forgot one thing actually when you were talking about how we met and how I started co-founding Ocean Fused Training. I actually sent you my first cut of the program and you read it. And you put your, okay, you remember?
Yeah, I do remember this. Yes. You gave me like the outline, the itinerary, and I was really curious about it. And I'm like, wow, this is really impactful. It combines there's psychology in there, there's yoga in there, there's surfing in there. So I was really impressed with this outline that you've created.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that, but first maybe I talk about how I came to Tenerife. I find it really weird because a lot of people seem to arrive in 22. A lot of people I met here arrived in the same time. We came in September, and it was a really quite fast decision to make. We have been planning to move to the ocean since long time, before we have been living 8 years in Berlin. but because of Corona, Ukrainian war, it took longer and longer and longer. So the situation I have been in is that I was finishing my studies in psychology and working as a social worker on the side. In the same time becoming a father and having some family issues, which put me like in a really chronic stress situation and eventually being really close to burnout. So I actually took time and I took a therapy to structure and focus all that stuff together to find a new way and to be ready. But after finishing everything what I have started in Berlin. To renounce it completely chronologically, it's difficult, but at the end, actually, we could have come earlier to Tenerife, but Corona and the Ukrainian war was really another hazard to overcome, especially because I'm half Ukrainian and I had to help my family to integrate in Berlin. They're living in our apartment right now. Yes, but at one point I was really full of all the situations, you know. There's always things coming in life and you have to react and react and react, and at one point you have to change something or you have to actually do what you wanted to do. So I make a cut and I booked the surf instructor seminar in southern France in Biobecue, where I met Flo. You know Flo, he gave you some surf lessons. And from there the road unfolded. You make the first step, you meet someone, and eventually he will tell you, oh, Tenerife is a nice island, you can surf there, you can work there. So we jumped on this train, and now I'm working with Flo since then, meeting everyone in the surf, meeting all the parents from my son's school, and we integrated really fast and became the idea to create our company. And also meeting you with all your concept and what you are doing. The cafe was always a place for people to meet up, and everybody had his own project working on. So it's really cool.
I felt such at home there too at the cafe, at Ocean Freaks Cafe. Yeah, I work from home a lot, and just to be able to step out and go into a cafe that has these surf vibes, it's just something about the surf vibes that makes me feel grounded. And I've only surfed a handful of times, once with Flo and another time in Morocco. But yeah, it's just the vibes. And you and Flo and the staff there at Ocean Freaks really allowed me to feel comfortable there and feel at home. I want to show my appreciation for that. With your projects now, because this is a combination of mind work, of body work, of surfing. So how do these all come together? You know, I was on your website here, and I love the About Us section. And it says here, we're a team passionate about preventing burnout and promoting well-being. With extensive expertise in education and mental health, we offer innovative programs that integrate surfing and yoga to build resilience and stress management. And it goes on to say that there is also this connection between supporting people to become better in their professional and personal lives. So can you share more about this, about how these all come together, these beautiful modalities to allow people to shine in both their professional and personal?
Yes, of course. At the beginning, I have to make clear that this is actually a program which Germany has. In Germany, you have the right to get extra holidays for education when it's somehow correlating with your profession. You can do something specific, like learn a new program as a software engineer, or learn a new language when you work in trades, you know, but you can also do something for your work health or work-related health. So everything what is falling under work-related stress management, concentration, flow, and so on, you can put together a seminar and the people will be able to do the seminar still getting their salary during the time, right? So for us it meant we cannot only deal with consciousness and stress management and resilience in a general way, we have to create something what is actually helping people deal with work stress and be more resilient at work. But still, it's key competences, a lot of key competences we are talking about when we are talking about stress management and resilience. And it's not really possible to sit in front of a presentation and just be more resilient and deal better with your stress. You need to experience something. So for that, we started thinking about how to build it around surf first, And also then we figured out that we need also the counterpart. When surf is where people can actually leave their comfort zone, be stressed, apply breathing, apply stress management techniques, also see how they work in critical conditions, you know. How am I dealing under a lot of stress? It's really not easy to simulate. In surfing, sometimes you can. Yeah. So, and after that, when the people are ready with that, so then you can show them, okay, now your nervous system should be going down again in a parasympathetic state. And you can make it happen with techniques, breathing, meditation. We actually specifically use yin yoga, where you don't have to work so much with muscles rather than gravity, so the people really can calm down and stretch and relax their joints passively. After that, the people are building a connection between each other really fast, already after the first day. So for a normal seminar context, you would have to do some games or accumulate some trust over time. During this engagement and a group activity, the trust builds fast. And then when you talk about stress and resilience and start to connect everything to the psychological and neuroscience perspective, the people understand quicker and they have a relation to that. This would be like the part we do after, while we do brunch, which is also an activity together. And at the end of every day, they will have to do exercise and apply what they have learned during the day on their own specific job situations, which we can talk about on the next day. So this is the concept, and this is the flow every day for 5 days. And on the last day, if they want, they can write a letter with some goals, or maybe they're just happy how they are, whatever. But whatever they want to take with them home and don't lose it in routine, they put in the letter and they get the letter after 1 month for them to revisit their experience.
I love this. You start off with a foundation, and then you build on top of this foundation and expand it further and further. I like how it concludes with this letter that they can write, which takes their experiences and their learnings and reflections, puts it on paper, or however way they're capturing this information, and then this is more of a way of holding themselves accountable to what they learn and integrating this when they go back home. Not for it to just be this experience in 5 days, but this is something that they can actually take home with them, some life skills, and infuse this into their everyday lives.
And especially remember it.
And remember,
because everything what you have an emotional, you save something emotionally, not only emotionally, you save it with your body actually experiencing it. And then after talking with other people who might feel the same way and having somebody professional guiding through the steps of conclusions, maybe that is really saving the information in a lot of different ways than just having it like read or listen, in my opinion.
Right. And you mentioned about meditation. There's also an element within this program. How is meditation integrated? Is this something that they do every day, or it's on a certain day? And what kind of meditation are they doing?
Well, I mean, we are really giving our best to look at everything from a really professional perspective. And when I say professional, I mean neuroscience and psychology, because we really need to disconnect from esoteric ways of putting like brief and meditation, since we have to get a license from the German government to do that, right? So we show studies how meditation, awareness and consciousness actually affecting our nervous system, helps us to stress regulate, helps us to train our working memory, because it's actually an attention training at the end of the day. And it happens training our zoom out perspective, like a metacognitive psychological skills, step by step learning to step out our identifications with everything what comes from inside. You can have a fight with your partner over several days, and when you're gonna close your eyes and be with yourself, this is what's gonna draw your attention from inside. You might just think about it for like hours, or you can just say, now it's not the time. To be able to do that also with different other things. And for people who have really work-related stress, they work a lot, so they have unfinished to-do lists. And when they try to go to sleep, they start thinking and overthinking and fixing problems which they actually are not fixing during this time. They are missing out on sleep. Also to let them experience it, because they get stressed, they get in critical situations, and after that we do yin yoga, which is a meditative yoga style. We do body scan and we do breath exercise, different breath exercises to bring them in different states. They build up more trust every day that techniques are actually working and are not some dogmatic like spiritual people. For a lot of professionals and Germans who are not in contact with meditation, yoga, they really have a strong tendency to frame it this way.
Right. That's key. It's all about framing and how it's communicated to others as well. And those who aren't maybe accustomed or exposed to meditation or yoga for that matter have to be eased into it. It's usually easier to take these small incremental steps into these modalities instead of wham, like give it all at once. And then it's like, oh, this is a bit odd for me. This is unusual. I don't know if this is for me, sort of thing. Incremental steps with anything in life for that matter. If you can say out of this 5-day program, is there one day out of these 5 days that is your favorite day that you always look forward to, or all the days of equal excitement for you?
I like the moment, and it's never particularly a day, but I like the moment when the people are finally there, when they let go, when they are understanding the process and what's going on and start sharing. This is for some groups a little bit later, for some groups it can happen already on the first day, but they're waiting for the moment. You can see it like physically and in their face, emotionally, when they are, I'm here in good hands and I trust the process and I try to learn everything I can here. And this is where I can also be a little bit more relaxed and just be in a flow and just go day by day and work with the examples. This is my favorite moment.
In your experience, is it when this one person and they have this connection, this epiphany, and it's like this wow moment for them and they want to share? Do you usually find it that the other participants follow in suit? Do they, because of they're being inspired by this one person who's being courageous to share first and have this connection first? Or is it sporadic? One can share in the beginning, one can share at the end of the program?
The sharing works spontaneously, but also it's really guided to the exercises they make every day. So for example, on Monday, they will do something with stress, and then they will, when we wait for the food for the brunch, it's not time to start with the presentation. So they will start talking about this, because I'm going to ask them, so do you need help to apply this and that? And out of that, conversation is formed. There's always room for that, and I give always room for that, but I don't force it. Not everybody has to speak in a round, and people are free to share, or they can also just learn from the examples of the others while we are guiding through it, or just giving good advice. This is like how it was the best. I think another thing is what you have to keep in mind in this kind of context is, this is really good. This is really good because with our seminar, if you look at the German employees, we attract people who come for surf. They would be like, there's surf, so the rest it's nice to know, but I just come for the surf. People come for yoga, and there's people coming for really the stress and resilience management topic. In the ideal world, we have a little bit of everyone, and then they can mix up together and help each other, because then a young 25-year-old guy who came just for the surf will learn from the older guy who is about to get burnout not to make the same mistakes. Wait until the breaking point, but already start thinking about yourself, adjust your daily routine, so it's fitting better our original balance, which in my opinion is just the balance of our nervous system, basically.
I love what you said about you have some younger people there, there's some older people there. It's like this chronological sharing, chronological learning from each other. It goes both ways. The more established professionals can learn from the younger professionals just entering into the workforce and vice versa. So that's great that you can have this balance as well, and it's open to different age ranges. Do you have a favorite story or an experience? So you don't have to name anybody, obviously, but is there one person or group that was like, yeah, this is the reason why I co-founded Ocean Fuse Training? Has that come up for you yet?
I would not pick a particularly one. I mean, of course, like if I'm really selfish, when I have a group where people don't have major issues and having already a good and healthy balance and taking a lot of good information for themselves, and besides that, we have a lot of fun surfing together. This is what I really like. I mean, this is easy job. This is one side. This is like me being selfish. But of course, I do that for actually when I have someone who have some issues we need to go through, which I gladly like to do. Of course, I like also complicated situations where people share something really, really deep, like bad mistreatment in the company, and actually manage to find a solution, or people who thinking about quitting and changing jobs and come to this process during our seminar, which we one time had. A participant, she wanted to quit in 6 months, and she ended up quitting during the seminar. Then you feel the impact of what she had learned. Then you think, okay, it's working.
I've shared in previous episodes about my surfing experience with flow and just being out there in the ocean. Even there's no waves or few waves, which has happened to me in the past, and when I say the past, only 2 surfing experiences, but being on that surfboard and sitting on it with other surfers even nearby, there's this place of calmness. It's kind of hard to describe because it's a unique thing to be experienced when you're on that board, on the ocean, and you're just in nature, literally in nature. I can see how someone who might want to leave their job, by any means, I don't think we're trying to promote you to leave your job, but obviously there's things to think about if there is no connection with your values, your inner values, and the company's values as well. But being on that board in the middle of the ocean gives you an opportunity to really take stock of life and to think about what is truly important to you. When I worked at Apple, what was important was the money, was the perspective from others that I'm working at Apple, the benefits, the discounts I was getting. Those were the most important things to me in the beginning, but predominantly I was very unhappy working there. There was a huge disconnection with my values and their values. I can see being on the surfboard, you can take stock of life. You can really think about what is truly important to you and then make the best decision for yourself. Sometimes we got to take these breaks. We got to go to a program like Ocean Fused Training. Thank you for sharing that.
Can I add something? You were really lucky on that day when you had your surf experience, because for me it's a lot of times in the bigger waves, and of course there's situations where people can really sit and relax and wait for the next wave to come and be a little bit more grounded and calm, but it's a lot of times situations where actually people put stuff to perspective and like, okay, when I can survive that, I can also get my shit together and move on with actually what I want to do instead of postponing it.
Yeah, exactly. We have this one life, and it's really about like asking ourselves, there's a decision to be made or something that we want to change. Why are we procrastinating? Why are we waiting for that right moment or that perfect moment that we can make that decision? Sometimes it's just taking that leap and doing what feels right for us. And yes, I was very lucky that day with flow. And I caught some waves, and I stood up, I think, 2 or 3 times, if I'm not mistaken.
I saw you, Joy.
Yeah, you saw me. You're up there. Actually, I do have some photos. Now that I recall, I got photos and videos of me standing up. I would like to transition next to what brings you presence. What is it that you do in your life on a day-to-day or on a regular basis that brings you back to your center or back to awareness?
It's a good question. I would not particularly that I pressure myself so much to actually be always present and deeply mindful, right? I understand consciousness as a really, really great tool, since I would say I'm a beginner to use it, since I'm only doing the seminar since 1 year. and I started dealing more with consciousness and mindfulness since then. I apply it more and more in my life. One good situation is when you are in small situations during the day. If you make your dishes, right? Or I used to be not really patient in the morning until the coffee was ready. Already waiting for the coffee to be ready instead of just take it easy, slow, watch the process, breathe the coffee, and so on. Just go the steps. Feel a joy of having my coffee soon instead of not enjoying the moment, not having it. For me, as in general, balance means more than that. For me, balance means also bringing me out of balance sometimes. For that, take time to recovery. I like to enjoy simple things, and I like to enjoy pleasures, because I know that there is some awareness coaching who say like that joy is coming from the inside and pleasure is coming from the outside. But I think you need both, or I need both to be happy. So I can go out with my friends, have some drinks, I can play a computer game, I can watch a TV show on Netflix, just do some procrastination even sometimes. But then when the time comes to find back balance and go for surfing, go for hiking, go in the forest, because I know that we need movement, we need sleep, we need nutrition, we need to be connected to the nature, and we need time for ourselves, and we need time to rest. So it's kind of a balance between stimulation and being for myself and having the time I need to readjust and be ready again for the world and the people and whatever comes at me.
Yeah, how true is that when we get up in the mornings, so many of us just go through this autopilot process, making the coffee, washing the dishes, but not being present with the process and thinking about what is the next thing that needs to be done, or thinking about what happened 2 weeks ago. It's like this, I call it zombie mode, where we're just kind of zombieing around, and we're not in the complete experience of what's happening, even washing the dishes. I went with a few friends last year, mini men's retreat. There was 3 of us that rented this house in the mountains. It was in the middle of nowhere. And we worked on these 3 days over that weekend on mindful practices. One of them suggested these Zen practices that he had learned, and that's literally like to wash the dishes. So we spent about 2 hours. We put a timer on. We walked around this house, and we all had our cleaning duties of this house. One would do the dishes, one would sweep, another would mop, but we couldn't talk to each other. So the idea is that we didn't speak to each other, and we did everything in silence and as slowly as possible, and to try our best to be in that moment, doing what we're doing, being present with it. And then when that 2-hour timer went off, then that's when we can come back together and start talking and reflecting on how that went. That's something that I do my best. I'm not perfect at it, but I do my best when I'm home, is for the entire day. Now, of course, I get distracted. I go sometimes into this autopilot, but I have the awareness now to recognize the autopilot, the zombie mode, and to pull myself out of it and be like, there's no reason to rush. Let's just slow down with this. Let's enjoy the water in the hands while I'm washing the dishes, and even the coffee. And there's a saying that I grew up with in the United States, and it is, wake up and smell the coffee. Literally, just wake up and smell the coffee. And this is why I love drinking, I drink the decaffeinated coffee, because I just love the smell of it. So, thank you for including that. Really appreciate it.
Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
Yeah. Would you say being an autopilot is always a bad thing? Or if bad is the right word to point it?
I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I would say for me, and from what I've learned, and there is things around Buddhist teachings that I'm learning as well. And for me, to be an autopilot is to be in a place where I am not in the moment. I am someplace else other than here. That means that there is something internally within me that is distracting me or disturbing me, bothering me, something I haven't yet processed. So if I am in autopilot, then that means that whatever it is that is distracting me inside or disturbing me from within, I'm not being present with it. I'm not giving it the full attention that that energy needs, or those thoughts might need, or those emotions or sensations. I am doing something else than really being with that. And for me, healing and growth happens in those spaces between, there's a quote, and I'll include this later, but there's a quote about that space between the stimulus and then the response. And that space is that space that we have to work with those thoughts,
Exactly.
emotions, and sensations.
Okay, I absolutely understand that, and that's why I asked, because, like, in my personal understanding, it's really a gray line there, because I don't talk for everyone, but for example, me, I can do cleaning, making some vacuum cleaning, washing some dishes, and not hating it, just doing it with neutral emotions. But in the same time, being dreaming about something, daydreaming, or watching I have maybe a work thing in my mind, and I can watch my mind try to figure out something and simulate situations or simulate whole stories and dialogues. And while I'm doing the dishes or vacuum cleaning, I don't have a particular negative emotion with that. I'm not identifying with that. It's just my brain working, and I can watch it work. And sometimes I can even laugh about the story my brain is thinking about, as a prospector. For me, that is nothing really when I would say you're not in the present moment, because I'm actually I'm kind of there, or at least what is happening is totally okay for me. I'm happy with this kind of state, doing one thing and being dreaming or strategizing in the same time in my head.
Yeah, so I get that. This is something I used to do a lot of. By for me, and this is me and how I'm going
Yeah.
about things now with my life, mindful living is about being present. How present can I be in that moment to moment? So I used to visualize a lot about the future. What I do now is, for me, I like to create separate time for that. So if I want to daydream or dream about life, then there maybe I'll dedicate some time after a morning meditation, for example. Or if I want to problem solve, then that would be like a dedicated 100% that I'm there present trying to problem solve about a particular thing going on. When I switched over to, like, say, using the example of washing the dishes, it changes my experience in that moment. If I can really feel the water and be with the soap and smell the soap and just be there 100%, like no diverted attention. Yes, thoughts come in, but so for me, the mindful living is seeing these thoughts come in and then seeing them just leave, not jumping on that train and allowing that thought to expand. Because when we put more energy into something, such as a thought, the thought becomes bigger and bigger. And even if we don't have a negative emotion, like I don't have negative, I love washing the dishes. It's one of my, and washing clothes. I love these things. But now when I switched over and experimented with feeling the cloth or the bed sheets as I put them into the washing machine, smelling the soap again. I have a thing with smelling. That, for me, it changes a lot for me, because now I am there, I am feeling this fabric, or I'm smelling the soap, and it enriches the experience in that moment to moment. For me, distracting myself or trying to multitask, which is something I grew up with in the United States, was multitasking, do this thing, think about another thing, and this and that, has caused me personally to burn out. It has caused me to overthink, like the psychosis sort of state of mind, where now I'm washing the dishes, and now for me it's like, okay, this thought leads to another one and another one, and I'm just like spiraling now, and now I'm not here. I am thinking about this other thing that maybe a project I want to create, and I'm someplace else other than being here with myself. Because at the end of the day, for me, all I have is this very moment. I don't know of this project in the future unless I dedicate this time to thinking about this project, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen. So for me, it feels better to do my best to be more in the moment with something than to multitask. But I get what you're saying, though. If you don't have a negative emotion, you can think about other things. For me, it's just something I've transitioned to, because I used to do this a lot. And I transitioned to more of a mindful living where this is what I'm learning through all the teachings of Michael A. Singer, Tara Brach, Joseph Goldstein. They're all teaching about to be in that present moment as full as you can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but as full as you can. But I appreciate you sharing your perspective on it as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I understand as well. But we all have a choice.
Of course. Of course, we all have a choice. Thankfully, we all have a choice. Well, we're going to wrap up our time here together. If anybody would like to find you online, or if there's any in the German community that wants to sign up for Ocean Fuse training or learn more about it, how can listeners and watchers find you?
Well, just visiting the website or Instagram. We usually answer there very fast. But we also listed on the major German platforms for this kind of business trips. It's multiple ways you can actually find us, but the best way is probably to go on the website, read more, and just fill out the contact formula.
Awesome. And then the website is going to be oceanfusetraining.com. And
right.
then people can also find you, Ocean Fuse Training, on Instagram.
Exactly, at Ocean Fuse Training, yes.
There we go, perfect. Again, that will be in the show notes. Before we conclude, I would like us to just take a mindful breath together. And just one breath, where we're taking a nice deep breath in from the stomach into the chest and just letting it out. As always, I like to close my eyes, but if you're in a place where you cannot close your eyes, please leave them open. We'll have this mindful breath right now, starting in the belly. I want to thank you, Daniel, for coming on.
Thank you, Joey,
today.
for having me. It was a lot of fun. I could talk with you for hours, but maybe we meet up.
Hey, maybe we have to do a part 2 to this. And thank you again for sharing more about your origins, your photo, Ocean Fuse Training. And I want to thank all the listeners and watchers out there as well for joining us here in Joey's Taxi and having a mindful conversation with us. And yeah, thank you all for your time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again. Take care, Daniel. Bye.
Take care.
Thanks for riding along. If you'd like to stay connected, follow the podcast and leave a mindful review. Until next time, stay in the seat.